Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. So today I'm joined by Eric and Robert from the Indigo protocol who are building on top of Cardano. So guys, you're very welcome. Appreciate your time coming on here to give us some insight into what you are building. So do you guys want to first introduce yourselves?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks for having us, Paul. Eric Coley, Indigo founder. Been building for, almost a year now. We'll have our 1 year anniversary here in April of 2022. We began building in April of 2021. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm Robert. I'm the product lead, so I'm basically trying to make sure that Indigo stays ahead of everyone else in the market and kind of become the #1 synthetics protocol, not only on Cardano, but all the blockchains.
And I suppose for anyone who hasn't heard of Indigo, can you give the high-level view of what it is, and then we'll get into some of the aspects of it then?
Yeah, so at a high level, we're tokenizing the real-world economy, and we're doing this by creating a bridge onto Cardano. And we want to do this to provide equal financial opportunities to anybody. And this allows anybody to create an I-asset.
An I-asset then, for people who don't know what an I-asset is this a real world, is it an asset, or is it, what, can you give us examples of what an I-asset will be?
I can go ahead and take that. So an I-asset is simply a mirrored version of a digital asset, a real world asset. In some cases, a statistic. So we'll use Oracle functionality that, with our Oracle partners, and we have, an I-asset within the protocol that has been minted by a user, already whitelisted I-asset that tracks the price of the asset that it's mirroring. And then, users can take those I-assets and trade them on DEXs, provide them as liquidity within Indigo, a lot of different capabilities with the I-asset itself.
And so how does someone get an I-asset? What do they have to do within the protocol? Over-collateralize, is it essentially over-collateralize loans against it? Like with lending and borrowing will be something similar, I suppose.
Yeah, so there are two basic ways to get an I-asset. The first and easiest way to get one is to just buy one on exchange. Go to SundaeSwap, go to MinSwap, go to any other DEX and just buy one, exchange your funding for an I-asset. Within Indigo, you can also borrow an I-asset. And so with this process, you take your collateral. It could be ADA, it could be a stablecoin, it could be another collateral type that's supported by Indigo in the future. You lock it up into the Indigo protocol, and then you essentially mint an I-asset into existence.
So it will be over-collateralized as well, I suppose, because we're going to be using, if I use ADA or something like that, it's a volatile asset. Say I'm taking a stable coin out, it'll be over collateralized. Is there a certain formula, or is that worked out yet, of what I'd need to put up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So our MCR is 150%. We are working through the analysis with our quants on, a multi-collateral asset support in future versions of Indigo. So anything outside of, say, stablecoin or ADA, those are some of the obvious collateral options that we'll have. But, it's come up within the community to basically allow for an I-asset to be minted with another I-asset as form of collateral, or say Indy as form of collateral. So that will not be at version 1, but we're considering it for future versions. But to your point, Paul, those can be riskier forms of collateral. So that would likely require a higher MCR than 150%. So, but as of right now, 150% is our base MCR.
Okay, so in a future version, I could actually buy the I-assets on something like SundaeSwap or that, and then use them to mint other I-assets then at that stage. So obviously there's a complex trail there. You kind of need to know what you're doing and keeping track of it. But is there interest? Do you pay interest on when, like, I know when I use a money market, if I borrow funds, I put up collateral, I also pay an interest. Is it something similar with synthetics?
No, so you can borrow I-assets against your collateral in Indigo interest-free. So if you wanted to borrow a stablecoin, for example, then you can do so interest-free, as long as the position is worth more than the I-asset itself, then you can get it interest-free. And if the price or the value of your collateral goes down in value, you will be required to either close your position or to add more collateral to keep it over collateralized. But yeah, there's no interest.
Okay. And something I seen you posted as well about there's options for multiple yields. So if I take the I asset and I can use that as put that in as liquidity on exchanges and then use the LP token somewhere else, are we going to see different options like that? Or for anyone who doesn't understand that, could you try and give a high level view of it?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that a lot of people are excited about, especially because Cardano provides new opportunities in this space. So the three basic ways to earn yield in Indigo is to, one, subscribe to a stability pool. You could, two, subscribe to a liquidity provider pool, or three, you can stake your Indy tokens into Indigo governance. So you can get 2x, 3x, even 4x eventually in a future version of the protocol. So let's just go through a basic example. Say you start with ADA and you want to borrow an I asset against it. With ADA, you can already earn staking rewards from the Cardano network. And eventually we will be able to double stake that. So you can take that ADA, stake it into Indigo, and we will stake the smart contract, and you'll earn your rewards that you were earning in your wallet, but you'll be earning them via Indigo. And now you can use that collateral to mint an I asset. And now when you have that I asset, you can choose to either put it into a stability pool or stake it into a DEX. So if you want to stake it into a stability pool, then you just pop it into Indigo stability pool. So if it's IBTC, you put into the IBTC stability pool, and then you earn Indy rewards by that. And then you also earn liquidation rewards. And the other way to earn yield is to take your I asset, put it into a DEX. You could put it into Sunday Swap, put it into MinSwap. You can put it into Dana Swap if it's a stable pair, like a stable coin or Bitcoin or like another I asset that has a wrapped version on Cardano. And now you can earn yield from that DEX. And then the DEX will give you LP tokens. Now you take those LP tokens, you plug them into Indigo, and then Indigo gives you yield in the form of Indy. And so now you've 3x yield. And now with this Indy, you can then take that Indy, stake it into Indigo governance, and now participate in voting. And for that, your participation, we then reward you with additional Indy plus revenue from the protocol fees. And that's how you get to 4x yield.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, I think when this hits the market, I'll definitely have to first off try it out myself and figure it all out, and then try and put some tutorials together as well, because I know a lot of people will be interested in this. What I'll say to people is understand it all before you get into something like this. Understand how the different hops work, and you need to keep an eye on, obviously, if you've taken out the asset, your liquidation price and stuff, your collateral you provide. But hopefully I'll be able to put some videos together around that when it does come out. So
yeah, I just want to explain, we're doing our best too to put a lot of content out so that our community members and that other people in the ecosystem are just really educated and aware of kind of the potential of Indigo. So I think it's pretty unique in how we've built our different yield mechanisms, in that, by being a liquidity provider on a DEX and earning that LP token, bringing the LP token to Indigo to stake it there. It's just a cross-protocol collaboration, really, with our DEX partners that are whitelisted, and all while the user is maintaining their core position on the DEX. So, but obviously we want to drive TVL and Indigo. So the lion's share of our community funds are going to the stability pool liquidity providers. So every I asset has its own respective stability pool. And if you see our tokenomics, over 40% of the total supply over the course of the token distribution model is going to our stability pool providers. So we definitely want to encourage and incentivize staking within stability pools and Indigo. That just helps build up the liquidity and the solvency of the protocol. So.
Yeah, the more liquidity a protocol has, the better user experience it is, especially price-wise for users. And when someone has a good experience, they tell more people, which is kind of the self-fulfilling thing. It brings more people into it. When someone else has a good experience, the more people makes it better for everyone as well. So just on tokenomics, you mentioned there, ye are a fully self-funded project up to date anyway. That's not something we see too often in the cryptocurrency space. So it's definitely something I admire that you're able to build a protocol on this level. Fully, but
happy to talk about that. When we launched Indigo almost a year ago, it'll be a year in May, or rather a year in April. What we seek to do with Indigo is really balance and make a fair financial playing field for the users out there, and for really people of the world that are in parts of the world where barriers and borders to entry are relatively hard to overcome. And so Indigo is very disruptive in that regard, and will give a lot of value to people all over the world with something as little as an internet connection. So in order to do that, and really a mission to make a fairer and freer financial landscape for all, it was just against the ethos of that for us to consider taking on VC funds pre-launch. So we're fully bootstrapped in-house. Every penny that's gone to Indigo has either come from our founding team and core team for development costs. We do have a couple of successful proposals in Catalyst. I think our first Catalyst entry was in Fund 6. So thank you to the Catalyst community for your continued support there. But we also go into Catalyst in a very fair way. We've even to date, every proposal that we've submitted into Catalyst that has been approved, all 3 so far, we requested less funds than the actual build of that costed. So we were very fair in how we went to that into that, because more funds for the Catalyst community ensures that some other team that needs the share of those same funds is going to have a better chance of receiving it. So yeah, fully bootstrapped from the ground up from a funding perspective. If we go to raise any VC capital, it will be after mainnet launch.
Oh, great. So on day one, when you actually come to market, it's fair. It's not like some projects come to market day one, VCs are watching, they're already a 10x multiplier of what they got in at, and they're ready to take advantage. So it's great to see a fair ground like that, especially when the product, as you say, you're bringing is to give everyone access to financial assets they mightn't have otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it would have been just completely against the ethos of fairness if we were to carve out X amount of supply for VCs. Sure, we've had the interest, and we've spoken to all the ones that you would be familiar with within the Cardano ecosystem, and some outside of that, of course. But it's just it's against our model, and it's against the spirit of Indigo to entertain that right now. So as long as we can make it being self-funded and fully bootstrapped, then that's our course, and we look good right now. So I have no issue with our path to mainnet being more or less Q3 of this year. So.
Okay, and that was actually the next part to get onto was roadmap. Kind of where are you guys now, or when will we see the product?
Yeah. Right now, we're aligning for just after the June hard fork. I think any CDP-based protocol ran into some limitations with regards to the capabilities there as it relates to liquidations. So a few of our colleagues and partners are in the same boat. So as soon as June is a successful hard fork, we will continue kind of making sure that we have the tech rails that we need to deploy, but our plan is to deploy just after the June hard fork.
In terms of you've already had your contracts audited, have you? Or you've had one version of them audited, from what I remember?
Yeah. We actually were, I think, the first DeFi protocol in the ecosystem to have a full and successful audit. We did that with Tweeg, who's I think even right now, Tweeg is one of the only out of few, 3 or so, external firms capable of auditing Plutus code, just given their background with Plutus. It was successful. We released our full-scale report in October, really detailing more critical to low-end findings, so and everything in between. So we released that full-scale report, I believe, in October. Due to any sort of refactoring or code design changes, anything up to mainnet, I expect we'll go into a secondary audit just for any sort of the code that has been changed since completing the last audit up until the time of mainnet. So yeah, we'll definitely have another look through for a V2 slim audit, if you will. But yeah, we want to make sure that we go to market with safe and sound code.
Yeah, it's good, especially when you have a complex protocol like this as well. It's great to hear security is a big factor there.
Yeah, it's paramount.
So at the minute, you have your first governance vote is ongoing at the minute. This is the route to full governance across the protocol long term. So what is the current one? Or do you want to talk about that? It's still open as we're recording this for, I think, 2 more days.
Yeah. Robert, I'll let you take that one, my friend.
Yeah, so the current vote is about when our initial token distribution event will take place. And so this includes our liquidity event, it includes staking distribution, and our airdrop. The airdrop is the one that most people are excited about. And so the vote is just whether we start this at launch or whether we start this 1 year after launch. And so before we made this proposal, we have a lot of discussion within our Indigo Discords. And this is where we pay a lot of attention to our community members, and they came up with a lot of different ideas. We collected all those ideas and determined within our team internally what was technically viable within the scope of Indigo, and narrowed it down to 2 options. And now we're putting it up to a vote to kind of kickstart Indigo governance. So right now, this is an off-chain vote. After protocol launch, when there actually is an on-chain protocol, then we will be migrating all governance to be on-chain. This is just like the very first of many to come governance proposals.
The details of how people can get involved in that, I can't remember actually. Do they have to be a member of the Discord first and you link from Discord into it? I know I've already voted, but I was in Discord before this, so I can't remember if I needed to be a member.
Yeah, I mean, it's ideal. So we've kind of used Twitter to funnel people to Discord, and then we've revealed our Discourse forum link from Discord. Obviously, I'm sure it's made its way around the socials so that you don't have to go through Discord, but we actually have basically a capability where we've linked your Discord user and your forum user, and you get a badge within Discord that shows that you've linked and voted. So we want to make it as fair and practical for people as possible, but also have some mechanisms that we've kept close to the chest and internal to protect from people gaming the system. It's just going to be an inevitability, right? I mean, people are going to try and do that if they can. So we're keeping things with regards to qualification criteria in-house, but putting little kind of tips and crumbs along the way. It's kind of making sure that people don't see it as something that is impossible to do, but also that we can't just allow for a free for all and then have people kind of move that around in the socials as a way to game the system. So we're being protective with it.
Yeah, well, anytime there's an airdrop involved in anything, people are going to try and game it, get as many accounts as they can. So just for people who are interested in that, the vote isn't the only qualification. So should they be a member of Discord or follow Twitter, or where would you say is the best place to keep up to date? I can put links below for whatever. And yeah.
Sure. Yeah, obviously, following us on Twitter is a great place as we put the majority of our public-facing content on Twitter. Discord's a way to communicate with us daily. I think we're one of the more active teams that you'll find in the space. Myself, to Robert, to James, to Cody and Daniel, we're all very, very active talking to the community. So, but it's not a requirement to follow us on Twitter. What's highly recommended is to have cast a vote in Discourse and also be a Discord member, definitely.
Perfect. And actually, you mentioned about education earlier on as well, and I will put a link to your YouTube below, because going up to this, I was watching some of the videos you put out, and they're great basics on synthetics and what you guys are as well, because synthetics wouldn't be the most popular out there. Lots of people wouldn't understand them in the broader crypto space or even outside it. So it's definitely worth a follow there. There are only, I think, 3-minute videos or that. So easy to digest for people as well. And I presume that will continue, will it?
Yeah, it will, absolutely. we are trying to make it a focus, and it is a focus of ours, to educate our community and educate people just in general on synthetics and kind of the capabilities that are there with a protocol like Indigo. So we regularly put out educational content and 2 to 3 minute videos, kind of just simplifying certain concepts. I think the last video was maybe a couple months ago, but we'll pick that back up again as we continue on the series of navigating through the web app. Is kind of where we left off in the last video. We're moving users through each different function of the web app, getting into governance, and then some of the other mechanisms that we've left off with. But that'll be an initiative we pick back up here pretty soon. Our website, well, we've embedded a lot of those links in our website. As you navigate through our website, there's different areas and sections that we're talking about different functions of the protocol, and we actually link to those videos through our website also. So for users who want to obviously, look at the team or look at some of our roadmap updates and anything about Indigo, our websites are generally a pretty good place to go as well for a lot of different content.
Yeah, it was actually the website. I found the links and then went off to find the channel then as well. So great to have them there.
Cool.
In terms of partnerships, collaborations, I've seen you have partnerships with different projects out there. Any of them you want to go into, or do you want to leave them for something else? Is there... Sometimes people can talk about them, sometimes they can't.
Sure. Yeah, no, happy to go into the partnership realm. We, again, needing stablecoin as a form of collateral, it was important to us to partner with the likes of Ardana, Cody, for example, so that we have those multi-stablecoin options for our users. Also, Indigo is not a DEX. So we need integrations built with the DEXs in the ecosystem, so as to allow our users to natively integrate with that DEX, to take their assets there and provide liquidity on the DEX, just as Robert was mentioning earlier. So so we're partnered with MinSwap, with SundaySwap. We have a pretty rich partnership portfolio. Forgive me for leaving out any of our partners that are there, but those are just a couple of the kind of the basic needs of why Indigo needs to partner with some of the other protocols in the industry or within the ecosystem, especially. So
yeah, when it comes to DEXs on Cardano, there's definitely no shortage of them at the minute. Anyway, it's
you know what? I can even expand a little bit on our token distribution and at least initial tokenomics, right? So we get this question a lot: why did we have a 1-year option? A 1-year option to do a DEX airdrop after 1 year. What benefit was that? Well, early on we were noticing just the DEX landscape was relatively muddy. Just a lot of different teams out here intending to build a DEX, and it's even yet still too early to see who is going to be the main DEX. I think we have some key candidates and we've partnered with them, but we thought it would be best to go ahead and let a year into mainnet surpass and let our community vote at that time, because inevitably some of the names that you hear and see building would have more kind of fallen out just based on the competition. So just the idea was to let a year or so go by and let that DEX landscape, the DEX wars as we know, right, to just settle themselves. And then at that time we would have a governance vote that our community would vote to say the 3 or 5 top DEXs in the ecosystem or something like that, and then the liquidity providers to that DEX that would be the approved DEX within the vote. That's where we would do an airdrop to. So that was the initial plan for a 1-year post-launch airdrop. So that clarifies a little bit. Some people, it's been a regular question for us, is why we ideated that plan. And technically it's still an option, but I think the way the vote is going, that option's all but dead. I think we're somewhere around 92% have voted so far in approval of an at-launch distribution. That makes a lot of sense for a lot of different benefits as well.
Yeah, I think it's looking like a landslide victory so far anyway, the last time I checked it. Yeah, I suppose it makes sense as well. Would you probably had planned to launch earlier initially, but with some of the SIPs that are there, obviously you touched on this before, that things that it wouldn't be safe for you to launch without that June hard fork. So DEXs can launch before that, and obviously you'll be able to see the landscape and see that starting to take shape and what DEXs are coming to the top then, or what are potentially going to survive long term.
Yeah. And with regards to pushing mainnet launch to kind of beyond these SIPs. We threw around the idea internally of launching a very slim Indigo, just with various elements and capabilities, just not there in a fully functional state. We just decided that was not the best for Indigo. Being as complex as Indigo is, we wanted to get all the features and functionality mainnet at once, rather than try and kind of drip these different updates along the way as the Cardano blockchain allows for. So we thought it was best for us to just go ahead and hold off and build the protocol as best as we possibly can for a fully functional mainnet. So
nice. Yeah, I suppose like when you do come out, then when you have a feature-rich product coming to the market as well, it will make a far bigger impression as well on people that are watching to see what happens.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm not sure if I've left anything out that you guys would like to get into before we try and wrap things up, or any areas you want to cover, anything about the protocol or anything at all.
Robert?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered, what is Indigo, what are synthetics, how to obtain an asset. I think we haven't really talked much about leverage. We could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that'll be, if you want to get into that. Where does leverage come into this? Can I leverage the positions that I take out, or?
Yeah, so when you borrow an asset, you are effectively going short that asset and long the collateral. So, for example, if you were to take ADA and borrow IUSDC, you would be long ADA compared to the US dollar. Whereas if you take a stablecoin like DUSD and then borrow IADA, then you would be short ADA. So you are creating a debt position, but it's not necessarily leverage because the asset itself is over collateralized. So you can't borrow more assets than you can afford by Indigo. But with Indigo, like the assets are a building block. And so you could take those assets into another protocol and write a derivative contract outside of Indigo and then create leverage on top. And this is like one of the benefits of a synthetic asset compared to a real asset, in that you can have, like, it's disconnected from the real available supply. So with IBTC, you can actually mint more than you could purchase off an exchange. And so that's a very powerful concept. If you wanted to make a very large leverage trade on the price action of Bitcoin, then you could do so using Indigo by just writing a contract and being able to, Indigo will be able to settle that trade without having access to the underlying Bitcoin.
Okay, so potentially we could have more than 21 million Bitcoin through Indigo. You could, now the amount of money, it's probably the wrong asset to talk about with the actual cost of something like that, but you could actually have 22 million Bitcoin as an asset.
Correct. Yeah, that's a question we get a lot, which is, I think, why Robert wanted to touch on that. There's no correlation from a supply perspective. It's primarily price. We could have 1 million, just whatever asset it is that there's a finite supply, in whether it's a digital asset or a real world asset. Within Indigo, it can be 10 times that, 1 million times that, depending on the liquidity for that, or the amount that users or traders want to mint. So there's no correlation with regards to amount. So.
Okay, and I suppose if you were looking to buy a big position on the open market, as soon as you open the position, you're going to be hit with slippage and stuff like that, where if you take out the asset, you take it out at one price. Obviously, the market will move after that, but you're not open to slippage when you're minting. I presume you mint the asset and you get that then.
Yeah, that's right. So the asset, it is possible for it to deviate from the real asset price, but then when this happens, it creates opportunity for the arbitrageurs to come in and stabilize that price peg. So if there's a disconnect, then there's a profit incentive to come in, mint a new asset and make that profit, and this will equalize the price over time, just through basic market dynamics.
Okay, nice. Actually, one question I'll finish it up with then, and why Cardano? Why start with Cardano anyway?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And so I think like a bit of backstory. So I've been very interested in this space for a long time. Like I've looked for different solutions for like how to bring traditional financial assets and like other assets onto the blockchain, because there's just so much more capability on the blockchain. But so far, like there just hasn't really been a very useful solution. Like there's been some other protocols that have kind of gone some distance. There's Mirror is the most common one, but like these are all kind of like failing in one area or another. And like a huge benefit of Cardano is just the decentralized nature. It's one of the most decentralized blockchains out there. And it provides like a unique opportunity for Indigo, which really needs decentralization at its core to thrive long term. And so like the Cardano infrastructure right now is very young, and this has been like a big disadvantage, which is why like we've had to delay mainnet launch. But over time, we do expect that Cardano is going to be the best blockchain for this type of problem. There's some like technical hurdles with the way that EU2XO works, but it also provides a huge benefit in that it's a lot more secure, like because it's deterministic in nature, and it doesn't maintain state as it does on like an EVM-based blockchain like Ethereum. We can have more guaranteed outcomes. And with our liquidations mechanism specifically, we can use stability pools in a manner that wouldn't actually be possible on Ethereum. So I think Cardano just makes a lot of sense. Like there's definitely some challenges because it's such a new protocol. But like long term, this is going to be the best option for Indigo.
Okay. Yeah, it's always great to hear. Sometimes you hear teams and they go straight, oh, well, Cardano is low fees. And yes, we're lower fees than Ethereum, but that shouldn't be the only advantage. So to hear that parts of your protocol actually benefit from being on Cardano and using the decentralized nature of Cardano as one of the big benefits as well, it gives me a lot more confidence in what you guys are doing as well, if that makes sense. Because look, there's really cheap blockchains out there for fees if that's all that people want, but there is a lot more out to Cardano than just cheap fees.
Yeah, no, it's the community too. In my experience, I mean, even in just technology in general, excuse me, I have not seen a community or a vertical so passionate from a humanitarian perspective and just passionate about making the world a better place and however they can. And in our case, it's using blockchain and technology. So that was a huge attractive thing to me, was just this community that was just so passionate about that. And, you know, again, that's what Indigo will be as well, is disruptive, is a benefit to the users and the people of the world who will use it. So we're right in line with the same spirit with Cardano in that regard.
One of Cardano, as well as the other things they have, the community is one of the biggest factors of Cardano, is why I think it will be successful long term. Is people see the vision, they look at the real world utility that Cardano is going after, and that's what people are here for long term as well. So I really appreciate your time today. It was great to get more of an insight from me and hopefully others out there as well. I'll put the links down below for the different social medias and everything like that where people can follow you at. And again, thanks guys. I appreciate your time.
Cool. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and actually, when we get closer to launching that, maybe we can do a follow-up and see where things are at and when you hit the market.
Yeah, happy to. Always love a follow-up. No problem there.
All right, thanks for watching, everyone. If you're new, subscribe. Questions for Indigo, leave them below or join into their social medias as well, and share it out if you think others should benefit from knowing more about Indigo. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.